I want to chat with you guys about whether your kid is eating enough food, because we're always worried about weight loss for adults and kids, and there is a problem with obesity, so those things are important. But what we forget is how many people are struggling with weight gain, and I'm specifically addressing children tonight. So 3 signs that your kid isn't eating enough, is not eating enough food. Okay, so these are what you need to look for. Okay, so the first thing you need to look for are there signs that they're under eating? We tend to jump into this, my kid's not eating enough, because you're seeing them just pick little bits of their food and not eat a full meal. But that doesn't necessarily attribute to lack of calories or under eating. You have to look for signs of under eating. So are there changes in their mood? Are they getting anxious or depressed? Are they consistently not eating much? Is their weight going down? Like, are they actually losing weight? Do they look sickly, pale? Look at their face and their body. And does it look like they're sickly? Because when you're losing weight really quickly, it shows. So start looking for those outward signs as well as the emotional signs that maybe something's going on. Like all of a sudden, if they're getting like cranky as everything and it's not normal for them to be throwing temper tantrums or just wanting to stay in their room by themselves, that could be a sign that they're under eating. Now, it has to go with other things. This isn't the only sign, but the point is you got to look for signs. Number 2 is, have you ever considered it's just a stage? Because kids go through stages, as do adults, where we eat more or we eat less. But kids especially go through stages. So toddlers, for instance, tend to kind of pick at their food. Preschoolers can be quite similar, but then they'll go through a major growth spurt and then they start picking at their food again, and then they become teenagers and they eat everything in the fridge, right? So there are these stages and phases that our kids go through. Are they just part of one of those stages right now where they're just not needing the calories because they're not going through the growth spurt? Watch, because the stage really does play a role in if they're under eating. Number 3, are you keeping track of their food? But are you even looking at what they're eating? Like, we assume they're under eating because they're picking at the food on their plate, or their plate looks just as full as when we served it to them. But are you actually keeping track to see if they're eating or not? Because maybe you're just forgetting some stuff. What I always recommend is you do a journal of the 3 F's: food, fitness, and feelings. So start journaling what's going on with them. When are they eating? When are they having those odd reactions? Are they being active? And start watching and keeping track for a temporary time so you can start to look for patterns. Oh, this is just normal. Or, this isn't normal the way they're reacting, and they're eating more than I thought, but they're still losing weight. And you have to be watching for those signs, okay? So these are the 3 things that you have to do if you want to know if your child is actually under eating. Because there's a high chance it's not, but there's a possibility it is. Okay, so let me do your recap, and then I'm going to give you some action steps on things you can do if you're worried, okay? So 3 signs, to look for if you're worried your kid isn't eating enough. So first of all, look for if there even are signs. Are you just assuming they're not eating enough without looking for signs? So look, is their weight changing? Has their mood changed a lot? What are they eating? Are they eating anything? Like, start watching for those things. How's their sleep? Is it more, less? What about the way they look physically? Look for signs, actual signs that maybe something is wrong. Second one, it could just be a stage. So take a look. Are they just in a stage of life where they're not needing to eat as much? Because that's okay. Number 3, are you keeping track to see if it's a problem? Do a food, fitness, and feelings journal and start paying attention to what they're eating, what their mood is, and how much they're moving to see if there's anything abnormal that's happening or any fluctuations that may cause you concern. Because if there's concern, there are things you need to do. So your action steps, first of all, if you're going, oh my goodness, this all seems like it could be my child, start the journal. That's your first action step. Just start journaling. So start journaling what they're eating. So what you're putting on their plate, what's being consumed after it's done. If there's any emotional changes that you notice that seem abnormal, if they're moving, just watch for those sorts of things. How's their sleep? Journal as much as you can so you can look for patterns and abnormalities. That's really important. So the more detail, the better. The second action step is if you are concerned about their weight, You have to stop feeding them really low calorie foods, and you have to start upping their calories. But you have to know that there's an issue first. So, I mean, we want them to eat their vegetables. We want them to eat broths and soups and things that are good for them. But if there's a weight issue and they're losing weight or they're underweight, that's not the best option to fill them up, because it will fill them up for very few calories. So it does mean adding in more healthy fats, increasing their protein, using smoothies where you can add so much into it in terms of calories without it filling them up nearly as much or as quickly, they might not eat a whole chicken breast, but you could down like a cup of yogurt in a smoothie, right? So you got to start finding the higher calorie ways to fill them up. But disclaimer with that, guys, this has to be healthy food. If you're just going to feed them high calorie junk foods because you're like, well, that'll help them gain weight. Yeah, it sure will. But it's not going to help them get healthy, and being underweight is really hard on the body. So it's important that you help them gain weight in a healthy way, which is why it's best to be supervised. That leads me to number 3. If you're unsure and you don't know, or you're really suspicious and you're concerned, hire somebody for sure. Okay, so you can hire a nutritionist. You can go to a naturopath if you want. I don't care. But get help if you're concerned, and get another opinion. Get somebody who knows what to look for to take a look over and see if there's a problem. Because if so, it can be addressed appropriately for them. Join my private Facebook community group because it's totally free. And it's where you can ask me all of your questions for free. And I'm just there to help you out and answer questions because I want you to be healthy. Bye, guys.